This is Cheeseburger, and you're in the Wrestling Epicenter.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com. We meet again, wrestling fans. Welcome to another edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. My name is James Walsh, and this week we bring you a special edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio featuring a Ring of Honor superstar who had a Twitter bump in with Bully Ray over the weekend. Kind of is why I wanted to throw the invite out there for an interview, and it turned out to be not much of a story, but nevertheless, still a great reason to have him on the show. I speak of Cheeseburger, the Ring of Honor fan favorite. Joined us for a fun 20-minute interview. I hope you guys enjoy it. And thank you again to Ring of Honor for granting the interview, and thank you for Cheeseburger for being a part of it. Fans, last episode of the Interactive Wrestling Radio we dedicated to the memory of Luscious Johnny Valiant as well as Terry Garvin Sims. Unfortunately, this week is no different. We have to dedicate the edition to two more fallen heroes of ours. We speak of number one, Paul Jones, who was a huge star in the Southern Territories, as well as, of course, the one that probably overshadowed Paul Jones, which is why we put him first. And that is, we used to call him the living legend, Bruno Sammartino. Now I call him the legend that will live forever. So Bruno joined us in 2003. In fact, it was his interview with our site that found Eric Clancy, who ended up being a co-host on this show for a number of years. He found us through that interview, and that shows you just what the reach is of Bruno Sammartino, or was. Hope you guys do check out that interview in the archives. It's still available. Never did have Paul Jones on. That's a regret that I'll always have. But we did have Bruno Sammartino on. In fact, we had him on twice. Once was for Wrestle Reunion, which wasn't really an interview. It was kind of really more Lee Marshall, who is also passed, by the way, talking with Bruno. But then we had the exclusive interview back in 2003, which is the one I reference all the time. Really, really a great interview. If Macho Man's interview back in 2003 didn't put us on the map, this one certainly did. In fact, it's one of our more referenced ones that we've done, and people mention it to us still to this day. This edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio, once again, is dedicated to both Paul Jones, Bruno Sammartino, and all that love them. So hope you guys enjoy. That's all I've got this week. Check out Ring of Honor's Honor Club. Check out ringofhonor.com, and also WrestlingEpicenter.com and InteractiveWrestlingRadio.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. That's it for me, and now let's get to the interview.
Oh, hell yeah. It's the big dog, Red Titus, and you are listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Available now in the archives at WrestlingEpicenter.com. It's our exclusive one-on-one interview with Mike Bucci, better known as Simon Dean and Supernova from ECW.
I mean, you guys remember, I started off as a goofy superhero with blue paint on my face, and I went all the way
first, and then you won the moment.
Yeah, running around with a cape, but people saw me grow, you know, being the innovator and the moves and having good matches and team with Chetty, all that, and then eventually winding up, you know, super shredded, lean, leather pants, long hair, the whole deal. I mean, I changed with them, and they saw it. So people, you can't, ultimately, wrestling fans, that's what I always loved about them, they're the ones that are going to decide what they like and what they don't like. You can tell them what they're supposed to like, but they're going to stick their finger up, and they're going to turn their channel on their TV, and then you're going to draw low ratings.
This incredible two-part interview, recorded back in 2009, features the rise and fall of ECW as well as his time as a WWE suit. Check it out right now at WrestlingEpicenter.com or InteractiveWrestlingRadio.com.
Hey, this is Will Ferrara, and you're tuned in to the Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. On the Newsmaker line with me right now is a Ring of Honor fan favorite, the one and only Cheeseburger. Mr. Cheeseburger, are you with me?
Yes, I am here. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's so great to have you on the show. Believe it or not, you're a very requested guest, so we're so glad to have you on, and also a fellow original New Jersey boy.
Yes, originally from Trenton, New Jersey, fellow Jersey boy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm from Bergen County, a little bit north of you, but we got that going for us. All right, so you crossed off one of the items off your bucket list this past weekend. You appeared in the ECWA Super 8 tournament. How was the experience of finally getting to be part of that?
Oh, I had a blast. Yeah, that was like I said, one of the things on my bucket list, and I unfortunately lost in the first round, but I lost to a great competitor in Anthony Green. I've been wanting to have a singles match with him for a very long time, so I was happy I got to do that. And it was a wonderful experience, just knowing the history of the tournament and getting to do the opening ceremony with them, talking about like the previous winners, and then everyone getting medals and seeing the trophy and everything. And there are a lot of like really good guys in that tournament. So it was great to finally get to check that off.
Very cool, very cool. If I can be so bold, can I ask what else is on that bucket list?
The list that I put out, there was like one or two things missing from it, but it was the Super 8. I'm a big fan of wrestling tournaments, so the Super 8 was one. The Young Lions Cup for Chikara was another, which I have done. So I checked those two off. King of Trios at Chikara is another one. CTW Best of the Best. I had one more. What was it? Oh, the IWA Mid-South TPI tournament. That one's a big one on my list. Then another one I think I didn't put on the list was WXW in Germany has like the 16 karat tournament. That's really popular. That one too.
Absolutely, very cool. Now, when I hear ECWA, I've been, like I mentioned, I grew up in New Jersey, so I know the area. I know the promotion, and I think of the Haas brothers, and I know Charlie Haas actually is part of what kind of helped you come across your name. I don't know the story, though. I just wanted to know if you'd be okay telling the story about how Charlie Haas ended up helping you come up with the Cheeseburger name.
Yes, absolutely. I actually just saw Charlie recently. I had a show in Texas, and it's been a few years since I've seen him, so it's pretty good to get to see him again. He is in Baltimore and at a Ring of Honor show in Baltimore in I believe 2013 in January of that year. And Charlie Haas was in the ring cutting a promo, and I was just doing like the ringside like student duties at the time, just like collecting the streamers and stuff like that. So I came into the ring to collect the streamers, and they started yelling at me and called me into the ring and began yelling at me on the mic. And Cheeseburger was just like a nickname I had from training at the Ring of Honor school, and people in the locker room knew me as that. So in the ring, he called me Cheeseburger on the mic, and then the crowd started chanting it. And once I got to the back, they were just like, "Oh, we may have something here. Let's roll with it."
Very cool. And it seems like a lot of legends have taken to you. They like you, Charlie being one of the examples, Jushin Liger being another. You adopted your finishing hold from Jushin Thunder Liger. Is that an honor of yours to consider that was bestowed upon you, that finishing hold?
Oh, absolutely. Liger, he's my favorite wrestler of all time. Like he's what I aspire to be in like a pro wrestler. Like he's the guy like I look to as what a professional wrestler is, and just to have like the accomplishment, like look at his career and like the stuff he's accomplished and for how long he's been doing it. He's still like, he's over 50 and still doing it at an extremely high level. So that was a huge honor to get to spend time with him and learn from him, and him to pass on his palm strike to me.
That's cool. Himself and another guy, Masquerita Sagrada. You got two guys that wear masks, and my kids watch this stuff now. And when I say to them, "Well, do you know how old he is?" and you tell them, they're like, "Get out of here," because they don't work. They don't work like it at all. Obviously, completely different, but yeah. All right. So we mentioned that a legend seemed to like you. Chris Jericho is one of those guys. He really seemed to like he had you on his podcast. Thoughts on Chris Jericho and how he really seemed to take to you when you first debuted with the Ring of Honor?
Oh, Jericho's awesome. Like it's funny how things turned out, because I started getting like a bunch of notifications on Twitter one night, and I was like, what's going on? And like Jericho had tweeted that he had just turned on like his TV, and he had just happened to catch like Ring of Honor, he's at home and Ring of Honor happened to be on, and I think he had seen the matches like me versus like Bob Evans from like Toronto and Ring of Honor, and he tweeted like he didn't know who I was or anything, but he just tweeted like something about like liking this cheeseburger guy. This cheeseburger guy's my new favorite wrestler. So people started tagging me in the post. My Twitter started blowing up, and like a bunch of people were texting me like, "Hey, go to Twitter, like see like Jericho's like talking about you." I was like, "What?" So like that happened. I sent him like a message just saying like, "Thank you for the shout out." And he invited me to come on his podcast. So we ended up actually doing a Talk is Jericho episode together.
Absolutely. How cool is it now that you guys go to Wrestle Kingdom, and you were at Wrestle Kingdom when he faced Omega, and got to be a hell of a journey for you to think that you're on that same level now.
Yeah, that was cool. I hadn't seen him. I think since we did the podcast. I think that was the last time I had seen him. So it's been about like 2 years or so since I've seen him. So it was good to see him again. We got to hang out for a little bit and talk. Another thing, like he posted a video of like asking his kids who their favorite wrestler was, and they said Cheeseburger. I think Ring of Honor even like sent him and his kids like some T-shirts.
Awesome. Another veteran that seemed to like him, though I question that now after the recent tweets on Twitter, is Bully Ray. What's going on with that? What's going on with the Twitter war with you two?
Well, Bully Ray seems to have this inclination in his mind that I'm somehow entitled and disrespecting him or disrespecting the wrestling business, which I have no idea where he got that idea from, but in his mind, he's kind of like launching the crusade against the people in wrestling he sees as unworthy or like entitled or disrespectful, which pretty much means like the new like younger generation that's coming in.
So all right, so I get that, no problem there. So you're an assistant trainer at the ROH dojo, and I've often said that when it comes to the wrestling IQ of the wrestling rosters out there, it's very hard to touch Ring of Honor. You guys have got some smart, well-trained guys that work there. Thoughts on being a trainer at the ROH dojo and what sets that dojo apart from other wrestling academies?
Oh, I absolutely love it. Like it's really cool because now I feel like a parent in a sense. Where like these guys and girls are like my kids that I'm like seeing grow up in like the wrestling business and seeing them like get opportunities and to succeed. And the Ring of Honor school like we offer like something different than like a lot of other schools because we're teaching for pay-per-view and television like a lot. Like Ring of Honor is like the upper echelon of wrestling, so we offer television experience, pay-per-view experience. Like students get to come help out the shows, do that, and we get to teach them how to wrestle, not just for a crowd, but wrestle for like the people at home. So they get that television and pay-per-view experience throughout the training. And also we teach a variety of styles. Like wrestling's not just one thing. It's a whole collection of different styles. Like we teach lucha libre, British. Like we teach about emotion, drama, like everything. So it's a whole mishmash of styles there.
Very cool. And one of the guests we had on last year was a former tag partner of yours, Will Ferrara. And it was just when you guys were splitting, and you guys had one hell of a match on ROH TV. It was a lot of fun to watch. Thoughts on working with Will, and thoughts on his current role with the Dogs?
I enjoyed that match a lot. I actually wish we could do like another singles match together. So hopefully at some point, although he's doing the tag team with the Dogs right now, which they're highly entertaining, but they're a little more entertaining when they're not bothering me in my matches. So hopefully I'll get to put that to bed soon. But I'm happy for Will. He's finally found something for him that like works at Red, and I think we'll be having another match soon.
Excellent. ROH finally has carved its identity. We had Bobby Cruz on a few weeks back, and I kind of said that ROH kind of followed the mold of UFC with maybe toning down certain things to appeal to a greater audience. And you can't deny the growth of Ring of Honor. It's grown exponentially in the past, even 5 years since you got there.
Absolutely.
What do you think about the growth of Ring of Honor?
When I got to Ring of Honor, I started 2010. So when I started coming around Ring of Honor and training and helping out the shows, it was like right around the tail end of like the HDNet era. So I was in that era from like the end of HDNet to where we had like no TV at all to when Sinclair bought the company and then to like now. So I got to see like firsthand like just how things have changed and how much like how much we've grown and how different things are from that era. And every single year, like we have something new going on. Every single year, it's like growing. Like, you just look at our recent Final Battle. That was like, but production wise, our biggest show ever. Like we had pyro, we had fire, like big stage, like big like crazy lighting, like everything. It's just everything. Like, and now we have a bunch of different working relationships with different companies. You know, we had New Japan that evolved to CMLL. Now we have Stardom. So we're growing. Like every year, something it's being added and something's growing.
Excellent. Now, something Flip Gordon said I kind of was scratching my head after he said it because I don't know how to take this. It seemed to me like in the old days you had WCW, ECW, and WWE, and then the independents. Mm-hmm. And then after those two companies went away and it was just WWE left, it seems like to some extent people still consider it WWE and then the independents. And there's no kind of other companies. And I've never really thought of Ring of Honor, maybe in its infancy, but ever since it's been on pay-per-view and television and all that, as an indie. Do you consider it an indie, or how do you look at it?
I don't think you can consider Ring of Honor an independent because we're owned by a major corporation. Like that is the exact opposite of what independent means. You know, like back when Kerry Silken owned it, it was just him doing it all by himself. So that, even though they were on pay-per-view back then, that technically was still like independent. But we're owned by Sinclair Broadcast, which is made like a huge company in America. So like that's the exact opposite of what I would consider to be an independent company.
I would agree with that. I kind of, because when he said it, I was scratching my head thinking, you're on the same channel as the Boston Red Sox. I don't think that qualifies as an indie anymore.
Right, we're on TV and pay-per-view. Like that would not be would classify as an independent.
Absolutely. All right, just a couple more questions, then we'll let you go. Something that I've been really excited about is the fact that the Women of Honor have finally gotten their chance to be on television, not just on YouTube, not just being shown on the internet, but now are a part of the Ring of Honor show. They even have their new title. As a male performer, what do you think of the Women of Honor finally taking their spot?
It's awesome. Like, like we see just over the last few years, like it's been cool to see like how much respect like women's wrestlers like women's wrestling has like gained. Like, like it's cool to see them now like on the same level as the men. Like they're not a side show attraction. Like they're the attraction. They're like they can be in main events. They get headline shows, and it's cool to see how that revolution has grown. And I'm glad Ring of Honor is being a part of that revolution by introducing the Women of Honor Championship and like making Women of Honor like its own brand and part of the company. And now they're getting on, like you said, getting on pay-per-view, getting on TV. So it's cool to see like that transition.
Absolutely. Your current world champion is Dalton Castle. There was a time, not even a couple years ago, that nobody would have seen him as world title material, and look at him now. He's doing great with the belt. Thoughts on yourself, and what are your future goals in Ring of Honor?
Well, I like the sets. I like to set myself up with small goals rather than like a big goal. Like for instance, when I first became a wrestler, first started training, like my first goal was just, my initial goal wasn't like, headline WrestleMania or like headline like Final Battle or something like that. It was just, I just want to have my first match, and then maybe I just want to have my first match on TV or my first match in like a different state or something like that. So I like to set small goals. So right now my next goal is to just progress up the car and hopefully win my first title like sometime this year or next year.
Excellent. All right, man. So I really want to thank you for taking the time to do this. I know this was a little bit off of our usual schedule, but we're so glad you took the time. Before I let you go, can I ask for a little favor from you?
Yep.
Do you mind if I ask for a liner just saying this is Cheeseburger and you're in the Wrestling Epicenter?
This is Cheeseburger. You're in the Wrestling Epicenter?
Yep, and you're in the Wrestling Epicenter. Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me when you're ready.
All right, I'll do the Wayne's World thing, the 5. So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2.
This is Cheeseburger, and you're in the Wrestling Epicenter.
Excellent, man. Thank you so much for doing this on real short notice. I appreciate it so
absolutely.
much.
No problem.
This is the Wrestling Epicenter. For over 15 years, we've brought you the top names in professional wrestling for exclusive interviews. Everybody you see here has been interviewed by our site. But we're more than just interviews. So be sure and check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for news, results, information, and of course our store. WrestlingEpicenter.com, your #1 source for wrestling information.